What's up, junkies? Welcome back in for another edition of Pigskin Junkies. Myself, Michael Larson, the big brother Jared Larson, here to talk the Big Boy League, the SEC West.
Varsity boys.
Now, SEC East isn't like a JV like it used to be, but and once again, I'm just gonna say, Jared and I can't. We just want to make sure we throw it out there again for those of you who listened to our last podcast. Tori Gurley, make sure to follow him on Twitter at tgurley81. And remember, that's not Todd Gurley, like he said. So,
and Snapchat, apparently.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
I downloaded Snapchat and made a Junkies account, so maybe potentially more. I'm a little too old for this stuff. I can't be doing this nonsense. So maybe we'll have Micah run it.
Yeah, Jared really taking over here. I was going to say, do you even know? Snapchat's evolved so much. Now it's like how kids communicate. They just text on there instead of on text message.
As a father of two, and especially as a father of a little girl, that scares the shit out of me.
Yeah, and it should, because I when it first came out and I was a teenage boy, that's exactly what it was used for. Yeah. My in-laws listen to the show. Anyway, we're gonna talk football here.
I'm married now, so okay, don't worry about it.
Yeah, we're gonna talk football before my mouth keeps running down a trail I don't want it to. So we're gonna talk SEC West. We're gonna start with the Crimson Tide, the team that I think everyone's expecting Nick Saban revenge tour number, I don't know, whatever it is. Yeah. I mean, scorched earth, murder everyone. Their over under coming in at 11.
It's insane.
I mean, it's hard. And we talked about this last year. We talked about it the year before. But it's hard to look at 11 wins, and you really don't want to stomach it and go, oh, God, like, there's no way they can do it. But you know they're going to do it.
Well, you're not betting over here. They have to go undefeated to win. I mean, literally have to win every game. I think I will not be betting it because I see a lot of scenarios where they win exactly 11 games. Here's the deal. If Bama goes 11-1, they're getting in the playoff. They're either going to be in the SEC championship game, which to this point has become a national quarterfinal, or they'll get in as, if something screwy happens with the West where they don't represent the West, but they have one loss and it's to LSU, they're getting in. So do I see a scenario where they go under 11? No. What I would really love to do is bet exactly 11 wins. Yeah. So I'll be out in Vegas and maybe find something like that. That's what I would love to do, because I do see a lot of scenarios where they wind up with exactly 11 wins. But yeah, we'll do the week one show separately, but you will find me on the Alabama Crimson Tide first half against Duke. Because little Nicky's been in these guys' ears for a while, and it's not going to be pretty. So Clemson blows the doors off them in the title game, and you hear is it over? Is it over? Which listen, these guys got to put 6 hours of content together off of a 3-hour game, so I understand what they're trying to do, but this is not even close to over. He's got the flywheel spinning so hard. They recruit at such an elite level that they really don't even have to recruit. The players just come in to his back. I'm pretty well known on this podcast in terms of I think Jalen Hurts is a better quarterback. I think he was a better fit. I think Tua is very erratic. I think his interceptions will cost them a game this year, but he's still, whatever. He's going to be the number one pick. He's great, can run, can throw, but I do think he gets a little bit loose sometimes, and I'm staring at Texas A&M, at Mississippi State, at Auburn, and then LSU at home off a bye. I could see a couple situations. You got Mr. Del Pitt at LSU, creates a turnover. That's the type of game where an interception can quite literally swing the outcome. So 11, I think, is the right number. I think they're going to be really good. They're going to continue to be really good. I mean, at some point, this coordinator carousel has got to eat into Saban's ability to score points, but we haven't seen that yet. And candidly, it's because they have enough talent on the field to where who's calling the plays really doesn't matter, but 2 or 3 games a year. So again, I think I'll if anyone out there has a exactly 11, I'd love to hear where it's at.
Yeah.
But that's my take on Bama.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. Saban said that, with the assistant coaches and whatnot, that they weren't properly prepared for the national championship
title game.
Yeah, so I thought that was interesting that he admitted that, because I feel like he wouldn't. Now, we did talk about on the East, and we made a joke, and everyone was saying, well, everyone in the SEC has to play each other. That's why their strength of schedule is so high. Bama's difficulty, number 44 in the country. So
you want to know why?
Because they draw.
That's what I said about the Patriots. Because they don't have to play Bama. They don't have to play themselves.
Well, and their lock out of the East is Tennessee, which has been great for the past few years. Then this year, then we apologize to our former guest, but South Carolina isn't exactly a tough draw either.
You get that. If you're the line, if you can dodge Florida and you can dodge Georgia this year and the last couple of years, that's been a positive. And their lock is Tennessee, and they've been rotating around, and they've dodged Georgia and Florida for quite some time now.
Well, even when they play Georgia in the regular season, I don't think Georgia ever wants to see them in the regular season ever again, because they just get their teeth kicked in. But you know what it's time for, Jared? You read my mind.
Cookie Monster.
There's still the best quote Beto Orgeron when they asked him about who he thought was going to win the World Series, and he goes, "All I know is 2-over-2 a day." Or when he's sitting there, and he's sitting there, and he's doing an interview, and kids are down on the other end of the field, jacking around in the indoor facility. You can hear him in the background. He goes, "Excuse me a second. Wait, I'm in an interview!" It's just like screaming to those kids. It's unbelievable. I love that man. It's hard to believe he's already in his fourth year. It's like everyone's like, "There's no way! Like this guy can't still be here," but he is.
I mean, I was about as low as you get on them last year, and they were 10-3 and kicked some butts.
They did. I think Joe Burrow caught everyone by surprise. He's probably the best quarterback they've had there since
quite some time.
Yeah,
Matt Mock.
Zach Mettenberger? No, I'm just kidding.
Seriously. Jamarcus Russell would be the clear answer. Mm-hmm. I think people forget about how good he was because how much of a knucklehead he was in the NFL. But
perp.
Yeah, they were so good. Have you heard he can throw it through the uprights from midfield from his knees?
Because you do that all the time in football.
Yeah.
My favorite.
Especially in college. If you're on your knees, you're down. The play is over.
My coach used to say, we'd be... Just because you said the on your knees thing, I'm going to make a joke here. My coach used to say in high school, we'd be stretching, and you'd spread your legs and grab your ankles to get a nice hamstring stretch. He goes, "It's the only time in life as a man you should ever be in this position." So anyway, there's a little inside joke for you guys. So LSU coming in over under at 9. Yeah, that's another one of those that I think LSU, and we've talked about it a little bit, I'm not going to jump on them for a season total, but it's definitely going to be a team that I think will get some interesting lines throughout the season.
I mean, if it's anywhere near what I think it's going to be September 7th, they're going to get my money in Austin. I can tell you that right now. They get Florida at home this year. They got to go to Mississippi State, which to me, I look at it and I say 9 wins is likely. They got to go to Tuscaloosa. I see some scenarios where they win 10 games. I would lean over if I'm going to bet it, but I'm a huge fan of Joe Burrow. Actually was last year. Coach's kid was at Ohio State, just couldn't find his way to the top of that food chain with Mr. Urban and found a nice home in Baton Rouge. So defense is always going to be loaded here. They're going to keep in games, and Joe Burrow, I think, is the right type of quarterback for LSU. Basically, just don't lose it. And I think Coach O has taken that approach where, hey, we're going to try and get to the fourth quarter where we have a chance to win, and then we're going to try and win it in the fourth quarter. I mean, I know that sounds like oversimplified, but I think in a lot of cases you can't win the game in the first half, but you can lose it, especially when you have an offense that's not as potent as some others. So, yeah, it's a roller coaster ride with these guys. This is the first time I haven't almost instantly bet under an LSU number in a while. I think 9 is right, and can't wait for them to see Texas because I think they're going to smoke them.
Whew. Obviously the big ones circle. You got Texas week 2. I think I'm with you on that one, Jared. Burrow, I hate using game manager. I think he was a little bit more on the game manager side last year, but you started to see him come out of that shell later in the season. They got 8 returning starters on offense, 8 returning on defense. I think this defense is going to continue to be good, if not great. Now, they did lose some very good talent to the draft, one of those playing down the road here in Tampa. But I think he's going to, especially with seeing all those familiar faces in the offensive huddle, I think that playbook's going to open up a little bit more. He's got the mental space to be on the field and make adjustments, which with the athletes LSU always has is going to be deadly, because if he's able to decipher defense out on the field and get those athletes in the best positions.
People in the right places.
Yeah, it's this LSU team I think can really do some damage. They got A&M at home at the end of the season on November 30th. I think that's going to be a really fun one. November 9th, obviously, Alabama. Bama's coming off of a bye. And I know we didn't really get a total answer on that one from Tori when we were talking about how much of an effect does a bye have. It's nice to kind of get caught up, but it has different effects on different teams. Would you say that would be a accurate?
Yeah. I think he was saying like, hey, either guys have pitched it in for the year, and then it doesn't matter, or you're grinding for something, and that's a nice extra week to try and get refocus the goals and then get your body right. So that's how I took when he said depends on the team. Yeah,
and obviously we just talked about how Bama's on scorched earth mode. I really think LSU could win 10 games in this schedule. But I don't want to jump the gun too early and put it in, and then week 2 they lose to Texas, which I don't think they will. But they lose to Texas, and then that immediately puts them out of the running, in my opinion. Then you got
behind the 8 ball. Yeah.
So
that speaks to some of the, let's drill into like, okay, I have a bankroll, and I want to stake that money responsibly, and if you make a season win total bet, that money is locked up for 3 months till the beginning of December. So if you're saying, hey, I think I know about LSU right now, I'm going to feel really good about them or bad, I'll have a clearer opinion after that Texas game, then, you can start to put some of that money to work. So, I caution people, because it's like, hey, if you think it's about the right number or it breaks on 1 game or 2 games, just bet that game. Don't do the season win total where the money's locked up for forever. Keep it available, and then just play those hinge games, 1, 2, 3. If you see a number that you feel as though it's way off, that's where you want to start making the season long investment.
Yeah, because it is a long time, especially for those people out there who have the stones to bet on divisional winners in baseball, and you just sit there and watch the money just collect dust. Or me, who has money on the Seattle hockey team being named the Kraken. So I'm still waiting for that one to cash. I think they said September. I believe they said they're going to name the team before they actually even have a GM or something like that, or a head coach or whatever.
I think I saw one like, will we land somebody on Mars by 2030? I'm like, so whoever bets that will not be able to get their money for 12 years. And then, so you can lose it, obviously, or you can get it in 12 years. But, like, I wouldn't even remember that, 1, that I made the bet, 2, that I had the account. Like, I don't.
What's my password? What's my password?
Yeah, I was like, beside the point. It's just odd.
It's like all those people that have Bitcoin on their computers. Like, crap. Dumpster diving for that. So, Jimbo Fisher.
Jimbo.
Year 2 with the Aggies, 10th overall as the head coach. You still hear it about Jimbo in this state because Florida State fans can't
still butthurt about it.
Yeah, still hate that guy. This A&M team, I think Kellen Mond is a very underrated quarterback. I thought he had a pretty solid season last year. I'm excited to see how he continues to develop as a passer and game manager, because there's no arguing that Jimbo Fisher is one of the greatest quarterback whisperers, and as Jared and I have continued to say about him, he makes unbelievable halftime adjustments. But A&M coming in at 7.5 on the win totals, Jared.
Yeah, so I actually, with a friend, already have an under on this because I got a really good price. But so a couple things I would say. One, they got to go to Clemson. That's going to be a loss. They got Bama. That's going to be a loss. And then at the end of the year, they're at Georgia and at LSU back-to-back weeks. And interestingly enough, so they have not beat both of the Mississippi schools since Johnny Manziel was there. So I think, from a season win total perspective, a lot of people are going to kind of tick over those and be like, win. I just don't necessarily see that, especially, I look at this Ole Miss team. You're playing Bama at home, mega hype train, all the things that we just talked about, super high emotion game. And then you got to go on the road and play a team that you feel like you're better than and should beat. I could see that as a potential slip-up spot for Texas A&M. And then they host us. They host Auburn. And for whatever reason, the road team always seems to win in that series. So I'll play the under. I like 7.5 under because I think there's enough things that can go wrong early. I agree with you. I think Kellen Mond is good. I think Jimbo's a great halftime adjustments. But I could see this one cashed fairly early in the season. And as a consequence of that, I'd be willing to stake some money on it.
Yeah, like you said, Auburn, A&M exchanging blows as the away team, except for last year where it should have continued to stay that way, but Auburn somehow pulled that one out of their keister. And I'm not complaining, but they definitely pulled that one out. I would side with you, which I know we're trying to work on disagreeing with each other, but they're coming, people. They're going to come, I promise. This is also one I'm not going to play, but I think in spreads, I think A&M could definitely get some lines versus a Georgia or LSU or Clemson. I think Jimbo has Clemson and Dabo's number. Not to, I'm not saying they're going to win, but I think it's going to be a close game. And they have a fun one to watch. Yeah, they're going to have a little extra time. They open the season on August 29th against Texas State. So they're going to have a little bit extra time to get ready for Trevor Lawrence and those Clemson Tigers, who you'll hear a little bit more about later in the week as we get more podcasts out here. But I'm not going to play it, but this is a team that I'm excited to watch, and I think it's only starting. The machine there is only just begun.
Yeah. Still only two recruiting classes in.
Mm-hmm. So we're going to head to the Plains. Jared and I's alma mater, Gus Malzahn, entering his 7th season as the Tigers head coach. Yep. The bus is loaded. They just officially announced Bo Nix as the starting quarterback as QB1 against Oregon August 31st in Arlington, a.k.a. Jerry World. Jared and I have talked a little bit about it. Joey Gatewood also is going to get some runs in that game, so I think we're going to see both of them. It's just that number 10 is going to start the game under center. Actually, not under center, in the shotgun. But
I was definitely not under center.
Yeah. Jared, what do you think about this Tigers team? The line, I'm seeing 8 or 7.5 on some sites.
So I won't be playing anything because I think the number's right. Defense is loaded. I mean, this defensive line is so stacked. I'm excited to have our team back with a little bit of defense. I feel like in the early part of the Gus years that kind of faded away. And to bring that back to the forefront, headed up really by Rodney Gardner, recruiting just a bunch of dudes on the defensive line over a period of time. You're starting to see that benefits rise to the surface. Mm-hmm. Offense is a lot of question marks. I know the offensive line is supposed to be better this year, but we have a freshman quarterback. And if he doesn't work, we have another freshman quarterback. So we play in the SEC West, according to Phil Steele, number 2 most difficult schedule. We always get Georgia out of the East, and this year we draw Florida out of the East on the road. So, it's these things to me. One, macro level view, I don't know why we keep putting these primetime games on our schedule. We play in the SEC West. We don't need to play Oregon. We should be playing directional U at Jordan-Hare Stadium, the pay for sleigh, come in here, just get pounded and get the win and the tally under your belt. So schedule's tough this year. I think, unfortunately, I look and kind of see an 8-4 9-3 type of expectation for this team. There's too much unknown at the quarterback position.
Yeah, and I will say, you got Boobie Whitlow back, Cam Martin at the tailback positions. I think you can lean on those guys heavy. Now, Oregon's going to definitely load the box. And the nice part is Bo Nix and Joey Gatewood can both run the football. So you're going to have that threat of them being able to beat you with your feet, or with their feet, excuse me. Jared already said it. That defensive line is absolute monsters. We've hinted on, or hit on, Utah as well. Most people have them as 1 and 2 defensive lines in college football this year. It's going to be a real fun to watch. I think Nick Coe has a good year at the Buck position. At receiver, I'm excited to watch Seth Williams' growth in year number 2. I think him and Bo Nix could have a really fun connection. And you got Anthony Schwartz out there, fastest man alive, and Eli Stove as well. I think you look around everywhere but the QB, I think you see talent, and they have a history of talent and experience to be able to bring along a QB, a young QB. I mean, you got 7 returners on offense, 7 on defense. So you feel a little bit positive in that, where you might be able to help this quarterback slowly get into a rhythm of the game. And the nice part about freshmen is, for the most part, when they first start out, they're super confident. They don't know any better. So,
this is it. Too dumb to know any better.
Exactly. So he's gonna come out guns a-blazing. He's gonna be hyped up. The kid's been bred to be an Auburn quarterback since his dad gave 50% of his genetic code to him and put an Auburn jersey on him from the second he came out of the womb. So, I mean, this kid, all he's ever wanted to do is play QB for Auburn. This is the first true freshman quarterback, I think they said, to start at quarterback for Auburn since, 52?
Long time.
Yeah. So,
yeah,
this is
long time.
Unfamiliar territory here for Tiger fans, but if there was ever going to be an exception, it's this kid. Now, I'm trying not to give him the full Kyle Frazier treatment of, this guy played for Gus in high school and he's the second coming of Jesus and was a major dud. I've watched a lot of film on the guy, and I think he's got a cool enough head and he has the intangibles. And Jared, I know you hint on coaches' kids, and you like how they
intangies.
Yeah, you like how these coaches' kids have the ability to. Their football IQ is very high. I think you're going to have that same thing with Bo Nix. He's going to have not only Gus Malzahn, but he's also going to have his own dad, who's had some SEC experience. I'm just hoping that come October 5th, he's able to do what his father did in the swamp and come out of there with a victory. But I am not going to be playing this either. The 7.5 to me was a little tasty. I was like,
8's hard.
Yeah, but 8, I'm like, no. And I think it's going to start trending that way, because I think some sites opened at 7.5 and then got hit hard and went to 8. So, and some haven't completely adjusted yet. So, John Moorhead and the Mississippi State Bulldogs in Starkville, Mississippi. Jared, I know we've talked about this squad, and when it was Dan Mullen, we were big supporters of the Bulldogs. But now, Moorhead entering his second year. He's got 7 offensive starters returning, only 4 on defense. We know that defense last year was beyond stout, and now he loses that. The offense was lackluster. They got the 19th most difficult schedule, according to Phil Steele, in the country. Line for these guys, 8 or 7.5 is what I was seeing, and I was surprised by that.
Yeah, I'd play the under. Mm-hmm. I think Joe Moorhead's in over his head. I said it last year. I'll say it this year. He walked into a situation last year where the defense was, as Mike alluded to, stacked. Looked at the first couple rounds of the NFL draft. You saw Mississippi State Bulldogs all over the place, at least on the defensive side of the ball. Those guys are all gone. And as a consequence, I would expect to see significant regression from that team. They played a lot of close games that they were able to win mostly by use of their defense. And I think that kind of goes away this year. So pretty easy early run. And they really won't get tested until they come to Auburn on September 28th. They got Louisiana, Southern Miss, Kansas State, and Kentucky all at home in September. But then really get into the meat of the schedule in the back part of the year. So that's, I think you got 4 wins there that they should have through the first part of September. That would be a team where I'm sure they'll rise in the rankings if they do indeed go 4-0. And I would look to start betting against them, obviously at the Auburn game, but then also as we move into the month of October, at Tennessee, LSU, at Texas A&M would be a pretty rough patch for them, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, Abilene Christian, thank God for them at the end of the schedule, but I've actually already bet the under on Mississippi State for this season, and you lose, the guy who was the face of your program for 4 seasons in Nick Fitzgerald, too, offensively. So, yes, you return 7 offensive starters, but the heart and soul of your team and the Stark Vegas mentality is gone offensively, and you lose that whole defense. It just has rebuild written all over it, but because of their past, I think Vegas is trying to say, hey, we're going to put the line here because we know people at Mississippi State has tend to what's the word I'm looking for?
Overperform.
Outperform. Thank you. What is expected of them. But we will head to good old Oxford, Mississippi, which if you blink when you're driving through Mississippi, you'll miss it. Matt Luke, the Ole Miss hero.
2 first names, Matt and Luke.
3rd year with the Runnin' Rebs. I'm just kidding, they're not the Runnin' Rebs. We got 5, which was their number. They went 5-7 last year. They got 5 over/under for the Mississippi Rebels. There we go.
Yeah, I mean, this poor Matt Luke guy is just here till they get out of the sin bin, and then his ass is getting fired. So, they have who's that? Didn't they have some kid transfer there to play quarterback?
I believe so.
Anyways, I don't know why you would transfer there to play quarterback, but they don't have the scholarships. They don't have the depth. They play in a league that requires them to have depth. And as the season wears on, you look at who they played towards the back half. I could see them losing to New Mexico State. And as a consequence of that, I would stay away from playing the number in either direction. Unfortunately, this is just purgatory as it pertains to Ole Miss. So not interested in them. I'll be tuning in. I'll be watching that Memphis game, mainly because I want to see how Memphis is this year more than anything. But also just get the pulse on the Ole Miss team. I candidly don't know enough about them or the players because there aren't enough coming in. And this rah-rah stuff from Matt Luke only is going to go so far.
Yeah, I think for the deck he's been dealt, he's done a good job. He's got 10 returning to people on the defensive side of the ball this year, but only 3 on offense. This team.
Well, yeah, it's because they were all freshmen last year. I mean,
exactly.
So it's going to be a bunch of sophomores. I just, when I look at those numbers, I think sometimes they do a great job of indicating the talent coming back, but in some cases it's like, yeah, man, you lost all your players. Someone's got to play. That doesn't mean that they're any good.
Yeah,
that's how I look at it.
Teamu's gone as well, I believe.
Yeah, everybody's gone.
And
whole squad's gone.
Yeah, he was actually a fun quarterback to watch play. But yeah, it's never a good sign, and no offense to all the linemen out there, but unless you're like the top 5 guy who's going to get drafted or projected to be a top 10 pick in the NFL the next season, when you go to your page and an O lineman's up there and everyone goes, who? That's when you know no one's returning offensively for your roster. Now, a guy that I'm excited to watch and continue to grow a roster, because this was a team that a few years ago in Fayetteville was knocking on heaven's door and was actually projected to win the SEC West. And then a certain coach who shall not be named got in a motorcycle accident. Chad Morris, I thought, did a great job at SMU. I'm very excited to watch him continue to build this Arkansas team, which I know Jared's going to make fun of me. They went back to the McFadden era jerseys, which I think are great. Super simple. They got super fancy and weird.
Jerseys.
But I'm just saying, I'm a fan of the crisp, old school looks, and I think Arkansas has a solid look. They didn't need to change it. So their number, though,
Sure.
is 5.5.
Oh, geez, under, under. That's one I will play. I mean, this is to the studs. You're talking about Brent Bielema, Fat Pig, was wanting to run Iowa, Nebraska a bunch of hog mollies and run, and then you got Chad Morris who's coming in there and wants to just sling it all across. This is a classic case of the personnel does not match what he's trying to do yet. Now he's recruiting at a decent, we'll call it an okay clip. Unfortunately, he's in the SEC West, so him doing a pretty good job is going to look like he's really not doing anything. But this is down to the studs. There's going to be a lot of young kids playing this year because it'll be his second year, so second recruiting class. You're going to start to see more of the Chad Morris vibe. But what that means is you're going to have a bunch of young, inexperienced players running out there against the best division in college football. And that's going to result in quite a few losses. So you got some gimmies, Portland State, San Jose State, even to a certain extent, Colorado State. But I don't see Western Kentucky as a pushover. And then, you play the West and you draw Kentucky out of the East. Sorry, Kentucky and Missouri out of the East.
Yeah, I mean, Phil Steele's got him as one of the most improved teams in the country, though, Jared. So we'll see. I don't.
Well,
I'm
improved
not
from what? What, they win one game last year?
That's true.
Two.
Yeah. I'm just giving you a hard time because Phil Steele sits in a room and actually writes all this stuff and does a little bit more hardcore research than you and I. But
they got talent on the roster,
they do.
I think, but. He's gonna play the guys that fit his style, which means all the older players and all the talent is effectively worthless.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, these guys, the line has to learn how to block in a different way. So should they improve from last year? Yes, but over 5.5 to me. I mean, goodness gracious, bowl game.
So I'll give you $10 if you can tell me where Bielema is these days.
No idea.
Scott would know.
Scott Panza
would know.
The
Currently with the Pats as a defensive line coach.
Ugh.
Woof.
Disgusting.
It's like the Saban treatment.
I would have loved to hear like quality control, defensive quality control.
It's just great when you type in. I type in Brett Bielema, and underneath it, people also search for Bobby Petrino. And the picture of Bobby Petrino is him with the neck brace on.
Neck thing. Yeah, that's just all time.
That
nice people of Arkansas, you poor folks.
Yeah, Fayetteville's a beautiful place. I don't know if you've ever been there. I had a.
Not.
It was I enjoyed my time there. But yeah, this is an Arkansas team that I think the future's bright and heading in the right direction to where they're not just going to be a bottom feeder, but.
I think Chad Morris is a good coach.
I do too. I just don't know if this is
Chad
the year.
Morris isn't throwing touchdowns and making interceptions.
It's true. Yeah, I mean, even Western Kentucky, you never know with that team. Every year they could come out of nowhere and actually develop. And if you're playing, this is kind of a constant thing when we talk about SEC play, is if you're a team that likes to throw it around, if you're unable to throw it around and if you go 3 and out in 30 seconds, as Auburn fans would know, punt, and then your defense is back out there.
Yes.
And you hold up for about a quarter and a half, and then the floodgates just explode, and you drown. Yep. It's not fun.
Yep.
So.
Been there. It's the worst feeling in the world, not being able to move the ball on offense.
Just watching it happen. Oh, yeah, there's a punter. I've seen him 7 times
gives
today.
Up 14. You're like, defense gives up 14. You're like, well, this is over. Where are the cocktails?
We sat through Auburn, Mississippi State 3-2 as well. Oh, never again. But that is our SEC West preview. It's crazy to think we got just 2 more of these, and it's football time. Now, just as so everybody knows why we're doing it different. Normally, Jared and I like to save the SEC for last, but because of Florida, Miami jumping right to it, obviously we have to get this out there on the line prior to. So we're going to blow up your podcast feed, and you're going to like it. You're going to like my voice. You're going to like Jared's voice by the end of this. So, we are, for SEC West preview, that's it for us, junkies. Until next time, which more content will be coming faster than normal. We're out of here.
See ya.